Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back again, back at Clay Pigeon Raceway. This is actually the Friday, not the Saturday. We've done a couple of practice sessions today. I'll show you this now. So like I said in the intro, obviously I'm going to be going out first and then Hagen's going to jump in straight after me. I'll pit halfway through the session. So as we head out on track then, obviously someone jumps out just ahead of me, which isn't too bad of a thing because I can actually try and follow some lines here from the Clay Pigeon team, so that could help me out massively. Up here on the Friday it was actually at 30 degrees Celsius and well, it was a very hot day to say the least, so it was very difficult, and obviously to try and keep the car on track and manage those conditions is very difficult, but nevertheless then we carry on following this guy, trying to warm the tyres up. Obviously it doesn't take very long with the conditions as they were. As we head around the final corner then start pushing, as you can see Jack Goring actually on the left there, down the inside in the kink, actually goes past me there, so I actually thought this could actually be a very good opportunity to try and follow him. Obviously I'm pretty close to him now at this point, and coming out of the S's he gives me the little hand to say follow me, so I can try and follow some lines and see what lines he's taking compared to what I was, and see if I can pick up any advice from him. So through the horseshoe I noticed that he took quite a very middle line coming out of the first part of it, so that could be something I try and use. Usually I try and be as tight as possible, which probably loses me a lot of speed actually. As we come around the final corner then, running the apex very nicely, run down the start finish straight. I noticed my engine isn't quite as good as Jack's. Obviously mine's quite an older engine and it's also pre-Evo with an Evo kit, not a natural Evo engine, so it's a bit of a disadvantage, but nevertheless I found a pretty decent line through there where we actually run the sausage curb. It's pretty difficult to do that because you don't want to run actually over it, only the front right and the rear right tyres want to land on it. If you completely run over it, you will actually get dragged straight off into the barrier if you're not careful, so you really don't want to be doing that at all. But nevertheless though, we were following Jack's lines pretty decently. We were trying to keep pace. He's probably backing off a little bit just to help me out more. Jack's a really chill guy and actually helps you out whenever you need help, so yeah, honestly we tried to keep up with him. Obviously he was just coming around here and we actually send it down the inside of the 82 here, who just gets in the way a little bit and doesn't get quite as good of an exit. But now it is about halfway through the session, so obviously like I said I promised Hagen that he can have a couple laps in it, so I pit now for him to jump out in it. I'm going to leave it where we just jump out and you'll see that I don't actually turn off the engine. Usually I would, but obviously it just saves a little bit more time so we can just jump straight in and just get the accelerator down. So as Hagen now jumps into the kart then, for the first time, it's his first ever time out in a senior Rotax kart. He usually does a lot of corporate karting at certain places like Race World and Mansell, so obviously it's going to be a massive stepping stone. So he said he wasn't going to push it too much. He obviously knows the kart's not his, so he doesn't want to end up damaging it or anything, so he just takes it nice and easy. Obviously going from corporate karting to Rotaxes, it's a massive difference and a massive learning curve, so obviously his lines aren't going to be perfect and he's not going to be absolutely flying around here, but he's just getting used to the car, seeing what it handles like, seeing what the brakes and the acceleration's like. Obviously in corporate karting you can get away with just slamming back on the throttle, which is what he was trying here really, just getting straight back on the throttle. But obviously in two strokes and Rotaxes you need to be nice and smooth on the throttle and gradually put it down. You can't just slam on it like you can in corporate and rental karting. But nevertheless so he did pretty well. He really enjoyed it, especially going down the straight with the speed that you get. The speed difference from corporate karting to Rotaxes is a massive difference, so I'm really happy that he actually managed to actually be alright going flat down the straight. He obviously straight away said that speed doesn't really affect him and scare him, so he seemed to really enjoy it. He went quite wide there. I think he didn't hit the brakes hard enough and also tried to get on the throttle and maybe got caught on the throttle cable a little bit, which is a problem that you can easily occur in Rotaxes. But nevertheless he comes in the pits then for the end of his session, and yeah, I think he enjoyed it. He told me afterwards that he had a massive smile on his face coming down the straight, so I'm really glad he enjoyed it, and hopefully he'll be able to come up again soon and have more goes in it. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of sessions. Now I've started recording now because I actually want to show you this. So if we look up here, as you can see, yeah, has got his little car set up where he's going to sleep for tonight. Obviously it's Friday night, we're actually camping here, we've got everything set up, so yeah, Peter's in here, sleeping. Look at his little setup. What is going on here?
Mate,
Like, what? He's got his boot down over. It's like a hotel in here. I'm not even lying.
I know.
And he won't let me go for a rally race in his
How
car
good is
whilst he's sleeping. That's the only problem. So, like, look, he's just. What is this?
I've got a proper bed in here. I've got a double bed.
For God's sake. So yeah, this is what I'm having to deal with, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's quite funny. So yeah, I guess that wraps up the Friday. Obviously, I've showed you the sessions. I've also showed you a bit of clips from Hagen, who actually came up and went in my car as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I guess we'll move on to Saturday morning on the race day. I'll see you then. Alright boys, I've got to be quite quiet, but it's now 6:40 in the morning on Saturday. I'm up quite early compared to everyone else. Everyone else is still asleep in the van and in the cars. So yeah, I think we're pretty much ready. As you can see, we just need to get the new tyres on. They're just down there. But other than that, we're pretty much all ready. Whilst I was asleep, I slept on the 2 mattresses down there in the sleep bag under my cart. And I noticed my seat has been rubbing on the curbs through the S's, which isn't good. Compared to Peter's, obviously. Peter's goes higher than the chassis, so mine's actually quite low compared to the chassis, which is not great. So I might need to try and figure that out for next time. But today we don't quite have time for that, so we'll just have to deal with what we got. But yeah, I think there's been a bit of rain last night because it looks all wet out there. I'll try and go for a track walk in a second. But yeah, hopefully it'll be pretty good. Alright boys, if you want to know how foggy it is, so here we go. That's how foggy it is. You literally can't see anything down to turn 1. It's just that foggy, so could be an interesting day to say the least. I guess we'll soon find out. Obviously there's a screw in here in place, so there's the final corner. You can't even see final corner, so it could be interesting. I'm hoping they won't cancel it or anything and it will be all good and this will all blow over. But if it stays like this for too much longer, we could have a problem. So, but yeah, I guess I'll keep you guys posted. Hopefully it all goes together and it all clears up a bit. So yeah, but I guess now we'll jump to a bit later on, or we'll jump into practice. So then, we jump into the kart then for qualifying on our brand new Maxi Sport tyres then. Obviously, like I said, sadly I didn't record practice. It was very funny to drive in the wet and I actually ended up spinning into the hairpin and nearly crashing into the barrier. Luckily just avoided that. So, massive shame I didn't record it. I apologise about that. I'll try and not let it happen again. But as we go out on track then on the brand new tyres, nearly go straight off the track straight away, trying to go a bit too fast there in towards the kink. Obviously, brand new slicks are very difficult to try and bed in and warm up. Obviously, going into a corner, you will just go straight on, and you need to go quite slowly to start with, and just let it bed in a little bit. Once I bedded in, I managed to start pushing then. Obviously here, as you can see, we have a couple of people just ahead of us. I was trying to use them for a bit of slipstream, just because obviously I know, like I said in the practice session commentary, that my engine isn't quite as good as some of these guys. Obviously there's a couple people with the same year engine as me, and some people with 3 Evos as well, but obviously we need to try and make up anywhere as we can, so getting some slipstream down the straight from other people wouldn't harm us at all. As you can see, the Kart 6 actually dives out of the way there for us, so we can actually get a bit of clean air now. It's still sat behind the Kart 21 as we'll get a little bit of slipstream down the start finish straight. Obviously, I don't think this lap's going to be very good because I feel like we're going to be right on the back of him here as we send it down the inside into the S's. Sadly, obviously having to make a move on your hot lap isn't the best thing in the world, and that did kind of ruin my lap a little bit. But now we move on to lap 8, which was actually my fastest lap of the session as we head down towards turn 1 then, taking it pretty nicely. We went a little bit wide. I want to try and be a little bit more tighter there, but as we send it through the S's, taking it pretty decently. Obviously I didn't quite run on the outside sausage curve there like I should have, so that probably lost me a little bit more time there. As we take the hairpin pretty nicely there, didn't run out too wide. As we head up to the horseshoe was perfect, I think there, managing to take it directly in the middle, just like Jack kind of showed me to. As we head down towards the final corner then, clipping the apex just at the last minute, run it out nice and wide, run down the start finish straight, trying to use a bit of human DRS, and that was my quickest lap of the qualifying. Sadly, we couldn't have improved any more than that, but we come across the line then. As you can see, we have 3 people just ahead of us, and that is the end of qualifying. So we actually got P8 out of 16 there, so that's a pretty good effort, and I'll take that. A pretty much mid-pack really. So yeah, I guess now we need to try and move on to Heat 1 and see if we can try and do any better then. Alright boys, we're going for a bit of an interesting strategy. So as you can tell, it's a little bit cloudy. It's starting to rain a tiny bit. Juniors are just about to go out, so we have about 6, 7, 8 minutes until we go out. So I'm actually going for a bit of a gamble, and I'm actually going out on wets. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. As you can see, it's cloudy, and the weather app on the iPhone says it's going to rain, but Met Office and BBC say it's not going to rain. So it's going to be interesting to see. What do you think, Miss Peter? Yeah, no clue. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see how it goes and jump straight into Heat 1 then. Alright boys, we backed out. The weather's changed to like 53% now, so it's probably most likely not going to rain. So we're back on the dry. So yeah, I think this should be the right call, hopefully. If it does rain, I'll actually kick myself, but I've decided this, so we've got to stick with it. So here we go for Heat 1 then. As you can see, it's clearly dry, everyone else is on dry, so there's clearly no rain incoming. And we also get blocked up, just to make matters worse for us, by the guy who is just ahead of us there, who couldn't get his car started. Eventually he managed to get it going and managed to take off, but sadly that's lost us a bit of time. But obviously here at Clay you can catch up and get your grid slot back, and luckily they didn't go away too far, so we did manage to actually catch back up. As you can see there, we open up the flap then to get ready for the start of the race time. P8 then for the Heat 1, and it is green lights here at Clay Pigeon Raceway. We've got a pretty decent start straight away, trying to hog it down the inside of the kink. As you can see, I thought to the 2 guys there were going to crash down the inside, so I tried to keep the outside, and someone actually sent it down the inside of me and makes the move stick on me. So that's a position lost sadly, which isn't ideal, but nevertheless we'll try and battle on anyway and see if we can try and get back around him and try and fight our way up a little bit as we go a little bit wide there into the hair. I actually really struggled with the tyres on the first couple of laps, which was a bit of a shock to be honest, especially that I actually had to push on my formation lap to try and catch back up with everyone. But nevertheless, at this point, around about lap 2ish, I think, they started to bed in a little bit and get warmed up, so I actually managed to push a little bit harder, which is pretty nice to say the least, as we head down towards turn 1 once again, all over the back of kart 20 here, as he goes a little bit wide. So I think that turn 1 and maybe into the towards the S's is probably the best point where I could probably get this kart 20. Obviously, usually I try and sit behind them a little bit and try and see where they go wrong and see if I can try and use that to my advantage. But I really want to try and get around him as quickly as possible. As you can see, we're all over the tail of him. So as we head in towards turn 1, I see he goes a little bit wide once again. So we're going to use that opportunity to go down the inside, in towards the S's, and make the move stick very nicely. And using the sausage curb just on the outside there, like I said, we should be. As we head in towards the hairpin, now we've got a bit of a gap between me and the car ahead. So I will have to try and push a little bit to see if I can catch up with him. Obviously it's not going to be an easy job, it's going to be very difficult to say the least, obviously being in a much older kart, and also as a privateer it's not easy trying to do the setups and have the little tips and tricks that some people do, but nevertheless we carry on pushing anyway. And for a few laps we just had the clean air. As you can see, I was just watching this battle just ahead and just chilling really. During the race, a couple people actually ended up retiring, so that was a massive shock to say the least, and we were actually running in P6 by mid-race, and actually were looking to actually finish in P6 throughout this race. So I was actually really happy as we were coming around here, taking it pretty nicely. All was going well until I come into the horseshoe, coming to the end of the race, and I actually noticed that my rear is completely locked there for some reason. I have no clue why, because I definitely didn't hit the brakes that hard that I didn't completely lock the rears like that and push me out wide like that. As I come down the street, I do try and look around here and try and point to people, and mainly Peter and Rick, to see if they could spot anything wrong with the car, but I didn't see any hand signals there. but we carry on anyway, and I tried to push on. I was noticing the car was really slidey here for some unknown reason. Obviously I can't really see when you're driving around like this, but then I noticed, we'll switch over to the helmet cam, Peter and Rick pointing at something at me, and then I also get a technical flag there, and that was a massive shame. Obviously at this point I definitely knew that there was something wrong. Obviously I can't see it, so I head into the pits. Obviously I was instructed to, so I had no choice. And as I'm coming to the pits, I turn around then and notice, as you can see, the bumper is ripped off and hanging off. So I was massively annoyed about that. As you can see, I was fuming as I stopped the car and get out. And as you can see, the bumper was actually stuck in between my chain guard and my right rear, which obviously explains why it locked up in towards the horseshoe section. But yeah, I guess that's a massive shame, especially we're running an incredible P6 from P8, so it would have put me in a great position for the pre-final or maybe even the final. But what can you do? It was just a massive shame. Unfortunately, I couldn't have done anything about it. I didn't feel anyone hit me, so it just must have unclipped and snapped the bolt automatically on its own. Either probably running through the S's because I really drag on the curbs or something. But yeah, I guess what can you do? Now I guess I need to try and move on to the pre-final and hopefully get a bit of a better result there. Thank you.
Thanks. What we always do is put a bit of light round here.
So now we move on to the pre-final then. Luckily, because a couple people retired in the Heat 1, I actually got to start P13. So it's not completely dead last, it's P13 out of 16, which isn't ideal. It's pretty much right at the back, but I guess I can try and find my way up and see what I can do from here. Obviously the final is where it's all made, so the pre-final is just where it determines where I start for the final. So I guess now I flip open the flap once again for the radiator box, and we go green here at Clay Pigeon Raceway, once again getting an incredible start there, jumping 2 people straight away down the kink and then going down the inside of another guy. So that's 3 positions made already. Sadly I also lose one down the inside there. As you can see, just got such a good exit out of turn 1 there compared to me, which was an absolute shock to say the least, as I didn't expect that. But now I'm going to send it down inside of the Kart 6 there, who somehow got a really terrible exit out of the S's. So that means I was going to try and get past him, but sadly he got a really good exit compared to me, whilst I got blocked up by the Kart 20 there. But now we're going to go back around the outside through the high speed corner then, out of the horseshoe, and made the move stick very nicely back on him. So that is 3 moves made on this race already. So now we just got to try and battle on. Obviously we're behind Kart 20 once again. We kind of know where his weak spot is, which was turn 1, so I tried to get ready to make a move on him through there, but sadly I just couldn't quite send it down inside. He took that line very well, to be fair, that lap. So I guess we just have to try and battle on once again, using the slipstream down the start finish straight, and down in towards turn 1 he goes a little bit wide once again, so we go down the inside of him in towards turn 1 and have the inside for the S's and make a move stick very nicely on him. So now we will push on once again, try and catch up with the other guys that are just ahead. Obviously there's a bit of a battle between them, so that could help my chances massively by trying to catch back up to them and try and get in a battle with them. The Kart 21 that's just ahead of me, actually I was a little bit quicker then, so I could have a chance of getting past him. Obviously it's going to take us a few laps to actually catch up, so we are going to cut a little bit to little clips of me doing laps and trying to catch back up to him. As you can see, I've closed the gap down massively at this point now, a couple laps later, so we can really try and have a go if we can just push a little bit more on and try and get a little bit more closer. As you can see, now we're all over the tail of him, so now we can try and think about making a move on him if we can. As we head in towards the turn 1 section then, as we head now in towards the S's, this is where I make a massive terrible mistake here. I run right over the sausage curb, somehow managing to keep the power down and not end up in the barrier. Is a massive shock, and I had no clue how I did that. My reaction was a bit shaken, to be honest, because that was absolutely insane. I couldn't believe I actually still managed to stay on track with keeping the power down and didn't really lose much time from it. So that was incredible, to say the least. We actually had Patrick from LPR all over the back of us as he spun off in towards the hairpin a couple laps ago, so I knew he was going to try and challenge back any second now. So I really need to try and get past the Kart 21 if I want to try and have a bit of a leeway between me and him. Obviously the Kart 21's getting in the way a little bit here, as we get a very good exit. Should we try and go down the inside of him in towards the hairpin and make a move stick very nicely on him. Patrick does try and go around my outside there because he also gets past the Kart 21, but luckily I just hold position. But now sadly I don't have that Kart leeway in between us, because he also got past him because I went down the inside and he sent it on the inside as well. So as we head down the start finish straight once again, obviously I think he's going to send it down the inside of me and get past me any second now, so I knew he was going to do it, and down the inside he goes in towards the S's and he makes a move stick very nicely. I knew there was no way I was going to keep up with him. He has a lot more experience around this track than me, and well, sadly I just couldn't keep up with that. It was just completely miles out of what I could achieve, but I tried to follow the lines, tried to keep with him as best as possible. As you can see, he was just pulling there out of the corners. That kart and that engine was absolutely flying that day, and to be fair, he drove it like an absolute demon, so there was nothing I could have done about it. But we come home in a solid P8 position, so we managed to get back to where we qualified originally, so hopefully we can do a bit better in the final then. Alright, so boys, as we know, in the Heat 1, sadly we were running P6 right till the end. Then sadly my bumper decided to rip off and get stuck. You could see me sliding around a little bit because the bumper actually jammed between my rear tyre, and you would have seen that in the video from the helmet cam. But obviously the pre-final then, I didn't record between the end of Heat 1 and the pre-final, but we've just done the pre-final. P8 from P13, really good effort and a massive improvement. Luckily managed to finish as well on that one, so, and P8 is a really good position for me, so yeah, hopefully the final can go even better. But let's jump straight into it, see how it goes then. So the final then, this is obviously where everything is gained, the points and everything, so I was hoping I would try and claw back in the final and do better than what I did in the Heat 1 and pre-final, until this happened. So obviously, because I didn't have enough bad luck as it already was, my car ended up not starting for the final. I ended up massively far behind. I luckily caught up to the grid just before the race, but sadly, because I didn't manage to catch up in time, I didn't start in the right position. I got a terrible start because my head was just right out of the game, trying to panic, trying to get back up, and I actually ended up dead last at the moment. So now I've got a lot of work to do then if I want to try and have any chance in this final. As you can see, we're coming into the S's, actually go round the outside of the kart there and manage to make the move very nicely on him as we go try and sneak around the outside of the kart 61 there. Don't quite manage to pull it off. I got a terrible exit out of the hairpin there sadly, and as we're going to try and go round the outside of this guy then, down the inside in towards the sweeping right hander there and make a move stick on him very nicely. So that's 2 positions made already, which was incredible to say the least, managing to get my game switch on very quickly there after slight panic on the grid. But nevertheless then, we're going to head in towards turn 1 for lap 2 then. As you can see, the kart 21 goes massively wide there and someone sends it down the inside of him. Couple laps there, we actually get sent down the inside by the kart 51 there, who actually ended up behind me at some point. I'm not too sure how. I think he might have spun on lap 1 or something, but nevertheless we'll carry on fighting and see if we can try and make our way up the grid. So that's 1 position lost, which isn't ideal, but we also gained 2 at the beginning, so can't complain too much. Obviously this is a long race, it's 10 minutes plus an extra lap, and everyone's so bunched up together at the moment, so we can still have a chance to try and have a fight. As you see, the 2 just ahead of me there having a massive battle there, which has helped me catch up a little bit as we head in towards and out of the S's, down towards the hairpin now, as they're still side by side. The 51 tries to go back down the inside of him, around the outside for the horseshoe and make a move stick very nicely on him. The kart 21 looks like he's a little bit slower here, so we need to try and get around him as quickly as possible as well, as like the 51 did, as we're going to try and get a very good exit out of the final corner, try and use a little bit of slipstream there, try and get as close to him as possible. But sadly I don't quite have the engine power to try and get past him, but it goes a little bit wide in towards turn 1. We're going to go down the inside of the S's and make another move through the S's of the day. So yeah, not too bad for the S's today. I'm actually making bare moves through there, which is pretty decent. And now we're going to try and keep up with these guys who are all battling here for the kart 20's position. As you can see, one of them gets around, and now the 51 is going to try and be sneaky and try and get around him as well. As you can see, the kart 20 goes a little bit wide here, so that gives the kart 51 a massive opportunity to go around the outside of him through the kink and now down the inside in towards turn 1 and make a move stick on him very nicely. Now we are back fighting with the Kart 20, who's Henry, and we'll try and have a little bit more fun here. Obviously there's a 4-way battle, probably 5 as well if you include the car behind me. Sadly I got a terrible exit out there as Henry actually got blocked up by the Kart 51 there, getting a terrible exit, and the Kart 21 gets back past me, which isn't ideal to say the least, but I guess we got past him once, we'll have to do it again. I mean, we're really getting, well, some hard work here today, and really having to try and fight for everything today as we go back down the straight, then start the next lap as the Kart 21 sends it down inside, gets a bit of a terrible exit there, and now we'll head in towards the S's once again. As you can see just ahead, the Kart 20 goes on the sausage curb there, managed to keep the power down, but the Kart 21 gets around the outside of him there. Sadly I couldn't quite get past him, but the Kart 21 goes massively wide in towards the hairpin. Both me and the Kart 20 got around him very nicely, so that's a move made back on him. Sadly now, because I'm stuck behind this Kart 20, I am starting to lose touch with the other guys, so we do need to try and get around Henry as quickly as possible. But his lines are so good and he's doing pretty well at defending here, so it's not going to be an easy job at all as we head in towards turn 1 once again. As you see, it goes a little bit wide there, so we're going to send it down the inside. That was quite a risky move there. I was a little bit more further back than what I have been all day making moves through there, so I can't believe I actually managed to pull that off. But yeah, it's very risky to say the least, but now we just have to try and push as much as possible because we've got a massive gap between me and the next car ahead, which I think is the Kart 51, who's absolutely flying around here. So it's not going to be easy to say the least, but I guess we've had a situation like this all day really, where we have to try and keep up and catch up with people as we cut on to a couple laps later where we're just pushing, just buying our time really, trying to catch up, and sadly I just wasn't gaining any time, which is a bit of a shame to say the least. But I'll still push as much as possible, see what I can do. As we head down to the start finish straight, then there's yellow flags out, and as you can see just on the left there through turn 1, Jack Gorin is actually out of this race. He actually sadly got punted off there and actually couldn't get going again. He might have had damage, I'm not too sure. I probably would have assumed he did if he wasn't going again, but massive shame for him. So that moves us up to P9, and we're going to come around the final corner then and finish P9 in this race. And so it wasn't the greatest result in the world, it definitely could have been a lot better, especially that we were running in P6 at the end of Heat 1, but sadly, obviously, a turn for the worse happened, and a lot of bad luck happened, obviously multiple times, so I guess P9 after a pretty hectic day isn't too bad, and I'll take that. But I'm going to leave this video here then. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe, but thanks for watching, and goodbye.